Hayden Panettiere's death at just 36 has left fans, friends, and the entertainment world trying to understand how someone who spent so much of her life in the public eye could leave the world so suddenly. She died on August 16, 2026, in Greenville, South Carolina, after first responders found her unresponsive and in cardiac arrest. Her official cause and manner of death have not yet been determined, and authorities have said that further investigation and toxicology testing are still pending. This story, therefore, must be told carefully. It is not a story about rumors or accusations, but about a woman whose life contained extraordinary success, painful struggles, personal losses, motherhood, recovery, and moments of genuine hope. What follows is a respectful look at Hayden Panettiere's journey, from the beginning of her career to the final days of her life, while separating what is publicly verified from what remains unknown. A childhood spent under the spotlight. Hayden Leslie Panettiere was born on August 21, 1989, in Palisades, New York. Her mother, Leslie Vogel, had worked as an actress, while her father, Alan Skip Panettiere, worked as a firefighter and later became a fire captain. Hayden also had a younger brother, Jansen, who eventually followed her into acting. Her introduction to entertainment came remarkably early. Before she was even a year old, she had appeared in a television commercial, and during childhood she continued auditioning and working at a pace that most children could hardly imagine. Acting became less of an occasional activity and more of a complete way of life. She grew up traveling to auditions, learning lines, working on sets, and adapting to adults and expectations at a very young age. Years later, she spoke honestly about how unusual that childhood had been and how the pressure to perform could affect a young person long after the cameras stopped rolling. Her earliest success brought opportunities, but it also meant that ordinary childhood experiences were often replaced by professional responsibilities. The young actress who kept rising. By the time Hayden was a small child, she had already begun appearing in daytime television. She played Sarah Roberts on One Life to Live and later appeared as Lizzie Spaulding on Guiding Light. Her performances attracted attention because of the emotional confidence she displayed despite her age. She continued building her resume through television and film, eventually voicing Dot in A Bug's Life and appearing in Remember the Titans. The latter became an especially meaningful early professional experience for her, as she had the opportunity to work alongside Denzel Washington. She later remembered that period warmly and described the environment as supportive and respectful. Her career continued through her teenage years, with appearances in projects including Ally McBeal, Malcolm in the Middle, Raising Helen, and Racing Stripes. The unusual thing about Hayden's career was not simply that she was successful, it was how long she had been working before most people her age had even begun thinking about careers. By adolescence, she was already carrying the expectations that came with being a recognizable young performer. Fame arrived with Heroes. Everything changed in 2006 when Hayden became Claire Bennett on Heroes. The character was a high school cheerleader with an extraordinary ability to heal, and the series quickly became one of television's biggest successes. Hayden was only 17 when audiences around the world became familiar with her face. Her character's determination and resilience became central to the series, and the phrase associated with Claire became part of popular television culture. For Hayden, however, fame meant more than recognition. It meant increased attention, magazine covers, interviews, public appearances, and constant scrutiny. She was growing into adulthood while millions of people were watching. During this period, she also explored music, recording songs and performing beyond acting. She became involved with environmental causes and developed a particular connection with ocean conservation. The contrast was striking. While the entertainment industry constantly demanded more of her, she found moments of peace in causes and places that existed outside the machinery of celebrity. Yet the pressures of fame did not disappear simply because she had found meaningful interests elsewhere. Nashville revealed another side of her after Heroes. Hayden took on one of the most important roles of her career as Juliet Barnes in Nashville. Juliet was talented, ambitious, vulnerable, complicated, and frequently struggling with the consequences of her choices. The character allowed Hayden to demonstrate a much broader emotional range, and her performance earned 2 Golden Globe nominations. She remained with the series for 6 seasons and became closely associated with the character. What made the role particularly powerful in retrospect was the way its themes sometimes appeared to overlap with difficulties Hayden was experiencing away from the cameras. Juliet dealt with addiction, relationships, emotional instability, fame, and attempts to rebuild herself. Hayden understood many of those emotions personally, although it is important not to assume that a fictional character represented her life exactly. Acting can draw on experience without becoming autobiography. Still, her performance carried an authenticity that audiences recognized. Through Nashville, Hayden showed that the child star from Heroes had become a serious adult performer capable of carrying difficult and emotionally demanding stories. The personal battles behind the success. While Hayden's professional achievements continued, her private life became increasingly difficult. She later spoke publicly about the psychological consequences of growing up in entertainment, including body image pressure, the loss of a conventional childhood, and experiences that affected her understanding of trust and personal boundaries. She was also candid about addiction and postpartum depression after the birth of her daughter, Kaya, in 2014. Her pregnancy and delivery were followed by serious physical and emotional difficulties. Hayden eventually sought treatment and spoke about how difficult it was to acknowledge that she needed help. Her struggles with alcohol became particularly serious, and she described periods when drinking had become central to her daily routine. At the same time, she faced the painful reality that she could not provide the kind of everyday parenting relationship she had once imagined. Kaya primarily lived with her father, Vladimir Klitschko, in Europe. Hayden later described that separation as one of the deepest sources of grief in her life. Yet her relationship with her daughter remained deeply important to her, and she continued expressing love and hope for their future. Loss, recovery, and a difficult road forward. Hayden's journey was never a simple story of falling and then recovering. It was much more complicated than that. There were periods when she sought treatment, periods when she worked, periods when she struggled again, and periods when she appeared to be rebuilding her life. Her relationship with Brian Hickerson also became a painful part of her public history, with court records and Hayden's own accounts documenting domestic violence. She eventually moved forward from that chapter, but experiences like these can leave emotional consequences long after the immediate danger has passed. Then came another devastating loss. Her younger brother, Hayden Panettiere, died in 2023 at the age of 28. His death added another layer of grief to an already complicated personal journey. Hayden later dedicated her memoir to him. The accumulation of childhood pressure, addiction, motherhood struggles, relationship trauma, and bereavement helps explain why the story of her life cannot responsibly be reduced to one event or one label. She was a person repeatedly trying to recover, rebuild, and find a healthier way forward. A new beginning that seemed possible. In 2026, Hayden released her memoir, This Is Me, A Reckoning. The book represented a significant moment because she chose to speak about difficult parts of her life in her own voice. She discussed childhood fame, addiction, postpartum depression, motherhood, relationships, and the painful experiences that shaped her. Yet the tone surrounding her final period was not simply despair. In interviews, she spoke about feeling that she had moved through a great deal of darkness and still had more life ahead of her. She discussed her daughter and the desire to be more present in her life. She also continued working, including the psychological thriller Sleepwalker, which became her final released film. The role required her to explore grief and emotional distress, but she described the experience of making it as challenging and rewarding. People who knew her professionally continued to recognize her talent and warmth. That makes her death especially difficult to process. The public record does not establish that she knew death was approaching, nor does it prove that she was in a particular emotional state immediately before it happened. What happened in her final hours? Hayden traveled from Los Angeles to Greenville, South Carolina, shortly before her death. On August 16th, authorities received a 911 call concerning an unresponsive woman at a residence. First responders arrived and found Hayden in cardiac arrest. Emergency personnel performed advanced life support measures, but their efforts were unsuccessful. She was pronounced dead at 2:32 p.m. local time. An autopsy was completed, and the Greenville County Coroner's Office reported that no trauma was discovered that contributed to her death. However, that does not mean the complete explanation is already known. Officials have stated that the cause and manner of death remain pending, while additional studies, including toxicology, are completed. Reports about a possible overdose have circulated because emergency communications referenced that possibility, but such reports should not be treated as a final medical conclusion. Authorities are still investigating the circumstances. As of now, there is no publicly established final cause of death. The responsible way to discuss Hayden's final hours is therefore to acknowledge the facts while resisting the temptation to turn unanswered questions into certainty. Remembering Hayden beyond the headlines. Hayden Panettiere's life cannot be summarized by the circumstances of her death. She was a performer who began working before she was old enough to understand what celebrity meant. She became a familiar face through Heroes, earned critical recognition through Nashville, appeared in major films, returned to the Scream franchise, explored music, supported environmental causes, and eventually became an author willing to confront painful memories. She was also a daughter, sister, mother, and friend whose life contained experiences that never belonged entirely to the public. Her story reminds us how complicated fame can be and how little an audience can truly know about what someone is carrying privately. Hayden spoke openly about some of her hardest years, and that honesty may ultimately become one of the most important parts of her legacy. She did not present herself as perfect. She presented herself as someone trying to survive difficult chapters and become better. Her death at 36 was sudden, and the investigation is still developing. Her family has asked for privacy as they grieve. What remains certain is that Hayden left an enduring body of work and touched millions of viewers through characters they will continue to remember.